Hello everyone, welcome to my video about how to animate like a Alpha Beast Sigma Legend God Pro monster. I did a poll on the YouTube community tab and everyone picked Charlie from the Smiling Friends because it's a good show, it's very popular right now. And kaboom. So that's what we're doing. That's who we're using to demonstrate. So what I'm going to do is basically show you the 12 principles of animation, which is like, that's all you need. Like, I'm not a genius, but I just follow these rules and it just works. Here's the 12 principles right here. Boom. That's a quick one. And so, okay, dope. That's what we got. First one I want to talk about is pose to pose and straight ahead animation. So straight ahead animation is pretty self-explanatory. You animate as you go. So like, let's say you got a ball, you go boom, you just start drawing like that. And like, it's fine, I guess, like boing, 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 boing. Boing, 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 boing. It's alright, but as you can see, it's like, I'm not really on model that much. I mean, you could just say I'm shit, but like, straight ahead, it's hard to like keep things consistent. Especially when you start following the other rules that are further in the video. Best way to go about it, in my opinion, is pose to pose animation, which I'll show you right now. So this is an example of pose to pose right here. You got pose A and pose B. So he's like looking down from that position. These are just the very important bare bones poses you want the character to do. You don't have to be like too precious, but like as long as you got the general proportions down and all that shit, you know, you can use this as a really good base. And then afterwards we're gonna do like in-betweens, all this other stuff with these other rules, and having these two here is going to just make things a whole lot better. You know what's coming up, you can plan it. Now that you got these two to look at, you can know exactly what to put in the middle. And this is probably a good time to talk about solid drawing as well. That basically just means, you know, from each pose, the character stays, you know, the same shape and size, basically. It'd be weird if suddenly like he comes here and then his head is like this small, you know? Like, that's a bit silly. That's very silly. This is very not silly. And see, like, this is better. I'm gonna fast forward here so I can demonstrate the next rule. Okay, so now we got all the blocking done with all our important poses, also known as key poses. So I'll show you what happens here. Got a little Blibbly run around. He goes, and Charlie goes, fuck you. And yeah, Spit's not animated yet. That's for later with all the secondary animation. But this kind of tells the story, right? We got the most important parts down, and now's probably like a good time to talk about some more of the epic 12 rules, like exaggeration and appeal. So appeal is pretty general. It's like just make the pose like look good visually. It's kind of like just art fundamentals, like shape design, shape language. So good one is like mirroring, or to avoid mirroring, which is when a drawing is like the left and right sides are too similar. With this one, I could have just drawn his hand very similar to that. Like, to be honest, it's a little boring. So it's good to like just make one arm be doing something a little different Same with like the legs. One's a little bit bent more than the other. Like you don't have to go too crazy. It's more of a rule of thumb, but it just makes for like a more interesting image. Like this, arms are kind of similar, but you see they're like different angles. Same with that. Like that arm's just a little more raised, a little different. So yeah, just use that little nugget of information. Using the silhouette test is a good one, where that's basically where if you just completely black out your drawing, you can sort of tell what's happening. You know, I blocked out this one. You know, this isn't the best example because he's very like scrunched up here, but you know, to alleviate that as much as I could, I put his hand out here, like trying to shield himself, shield his face and stuff. If his hand was like too close to him, you wouldn't really be able to tell that there's anything here. Like, what's that pose, right? This one sort of helps it a little bit of like, oh, he's reeling backwards with a hand up. Then, very, very, very important one is staging. Staging is basically balancing who has the attention on the screen. When one aspect is moving, it's probably good to put the brakes on other movement until it's their time to shine. A good example is like this Blibbly going across the screen, like he's like, and you know, Charlie's pretty still throughout this whole thing because the Blibbly, he's the focal point of this shot right now. So if Charlie was like going just as bonkers, like it'd be too chaotic, you wouldn't know what to look at. And then once he spits, he's very still after that, and now it's like Charlie's doing the movements, right? So one's still, the other's moving. The other, he stops, and then Charlie starts moving, right? That way you're guiding where the audience looks, and it's like a rhythm sort of thing. It's all a freaking epic rhythm. Yeah, so let me do another fast forward and we'll get on to the next steps. Okay, so we are on to the next super cool, mega dope rules. Overshoots and anticipations, which is basically accounting for like momentum in like movements. So like after you do like a really big movement, that energy, you know, it's really good to make the energy like go a bit further than it should, and then have the character bounce back from that. So here's a little example. So he's like, Charlie here, he's like ready up for his stomp, and then he comes down, boom. So what I add is just a little one where he's like a little bit further than he should be stomping, and then he comes back to that. So I'll show you how that plays. He goes doom, 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 and that makes it a bit more believable, look a bit more natural. As well as that, anticipation is like, it's kind of like a spring, you know, when someone does a big movement again, you want them to gather up that momentum and that energy to move that far distance. So Charlie's like, his face is like scrunched up here, and then he's going to move to here. So I make him go scrunch up a bit more and then move to here. And that just, it really helps sell that movement. It makes the character feel more alive. I'll show you the full thing now with those in effect. And he goes, oh, fuck you, Blibbly. Yeah. But see, he's like actually a bit more alive now. He's like a human. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the breakdown poses, which it's kind of like just fleshing out the movements a bit more. And whenever you're doing breakdowns, we go to our next boom, awesome, super dope principle rule, which is arcs. Usually, really good way to make a character's movements look good is to make them move in curves and arcs and all that jazz. I've drawn a couple here as an example. So when Charlie like looks across, we're gonna think of the way his nose moves in an arc, because if you draw in a straight line, it's very stiff and a bit robotic. I've drawn a couple here like that, and I'm gonna fast forward. that's done, and breakdowns are completed. Let me just do a little run through. He goes, whoosh, yeah, fuck you. Awesome. So, you know, we followed the arcs. He goes, wong. His nose follows that arc. It's very fluid, very awesome. So a good example here is of another one of the 12 rules, which is you can call it timing, you call it spacing, whatever. Basically, where you draw the pose relative to the keyframe or the main poses is it'll show the speed. So like, see, the distance between here and here is quite big, so you're going to perceive it as like really fast, but the distance between here isn't as big. So I wanted the movement here to be like fast, and then the movement here to be slower, so it looks like whoa. And then another really cool, awesome, super principle move, squash and stretch. I've utilized squash and stretch mainly on the Blibli here. You'll see when he goes to reel back in anticipation for his spit, he does his anticipation, and then he's overshoot, he stretches, and then he comes back. He stretches a lot, and then he bounces back into a more blobby shape. And stretching and squashing your things in like really crazy movements, it just adds a sense of fluidity sometimes, but you just use it within context, like when you need to, like here, because this is a very silly character. Alright, next step, I'm going to add some in-betweens, and you get to watch that. How cool. Okay, things are going pretty good. We've done the in-betweens. It's looking real smooth now. No choppiness. And I've also done a crazy new super dope epic awesome swag god mode rules. And that is secondary animation. Yeah. Secondary animation, what is that? Huh? Good question. I'm glad you asked. Basically, on top of whatever the character is doing, if there's things like some fabric or antenna, ears, like bunny ears, anything like light and like flaps around, we animate that as well. It basically follows behind whatever the character's doing. So I'll give you an example here. I've animated Charlie's aglets here. So as he's going down, the aglets are still coming up here. So they flop down and then they swing. They go ding, kind of like that, right? And we have the same thing with this one, with the stomp. He stomps down, aglets, flat. Same with his hair. Hair is behind, it's flowing upwards because it's from the last position, and then it flops down and then back, springs back into position with an overshoot. See how these are like interconnecting, all these rules, these principles? Makes sense. And also, as you can probably tell, I've animated the blood. Animating effects in Liquid is, I could do that another time. That was actually straight ahead animation. I was like, you can just figure out the arcs, boom, make it disappear. And you go through the spit. He goes, and then spit is just 1-2 frames, and you basically just keep that on his face the whole time. Since you stuck with me, since you're an alpha beast in the making, I'll show you the full thing here. Oh, that's awesome. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Right on. That's it. That's so yeah, just if you need help, just watch this video like a couple million times. Get me a few trillion views maybe. That'd be cool. Yeah, sweet. I'll probably clean this up, put it at the end of the video, and you can look at that. Bye.